All right, guys. So I'm going to be recapping these shorts that I got into today. From initial entry, we did hit about 400 ticks, but because I did not manage this trade properly, I ended up getting stopped out on a pullback. I had my stop a little too low as I was trailing it. And so the reason for entry for this trade, I'm going to go over that. That's pretty simple, but I'm also going to go over what I could have done better in this trade to be able to capitalize off the entire move. All right. So just to give you guys the levels that I was looking at, on this 30-minute, we had this trend line here, right? So I was just, mindful of that, aware of that level. Okay, so you see we had touch there, touch there, touch there. All right. Then on the 5-minute, we had, before the move actually happened, a little support on the 5-minute, right around 270. So right around here, 272. Some people would say, okay, we had a double bottom, whatever. Okay, cool. So we had that. And then on the 1 minute, I was also watching around 311, which was this level of resistance that price was struggling to get above. Okay, so we had touch, kind of touch there, not really, but essentially this level we were struggling to get above. All right, so I also wanted to keep in mind that we did have this huge move down initially. And so these longs that came in or this move up that happened could possibly be, sorry, a pullback. Um, and then price end up coming back down. So I was kind of keeping that in mind, as far as shorts coming in. But let's just get into the actual trade and why I got my entry where I got it and everything like that. All right, so at open, we closed above this trend line. So at open, we were above the trend line, right? We were above the trend line. Um, you can see we opened here. So we were above the trend line on this red candle. We opened at 302. So for me, well, for anybody, if we're gonna see longs come in, well, number one, we obviously need to respect this trend line. So we need to stay above it, bounce off of it, and continue moving up. Also, on the 5-minute, we did have, what people would call a double bottom. Okay, we got support down there. All right. And so if we're gonna form that, we're gonna stay above the trend line. Maybe we see longs come in, but for me, I was also paying attention to this 311 level that I mentioned on this 1 minute. All right. Looking at this 1 minute, you can see the struggle to get above the level, close above the level, and continue to move up. Now, if we would have been able to close above 311, I would have said, okay, we got a double bottom on the 5-minute. We're above this trend line on the 30-minute. We can try longs targeting at least up to 350. There were sellers sitting up there during the session. All right, so at least up to 350. However, that didn't happen. We had a rejection at 311. Okay, we came back down and we ended up breaking this level on the 5-minute, right around 272. All right, so once we had that close there on the 5-minute, I got my entry into the trade. I had my stop essentially above the level, but also a little above that trend line. So if price were to break, right, a trend line, we expect price to retest it and then continue coming down. So I had my stop above that level because that's where my analysis would be invalidated. All right. So got my entry right around that level. Now, as far as targets and what I could have done better in this trade, um, we had buyers sitting down at 155. So that was, one of the overall targets. So 155 is, well, you can see right around where we bounced at. All right, so we had that level marked out. We had buyers sitting down there, and I saw this on Bookmap. So for those that don't know, what is she talking about? Bookmap is a software where you can see essentially orders sitting in the market, limit orders sitting in the market. So I saw we had a lot of buyers sitting down at 155. So that was one of the targets that I had mentioned in the Discord when we were in the trade. Now, in addition to 155, I also noted this level over here. Okay, so if we don't have anything on Bookmap or any higher time frame levels, I will look on the lower time frames like the 5-minute or something to see where we could potentially see some sort of reaction. Okay, so where can I possibly look to target? All right, so around here, right around this level, you can see the market for some reason bounced here. Whatever the reason is, we bounced here and we ended up moving back up. So I wanted to have this level marked out as a potential target because we had a reaction there previously. Now, the only thing I did wrong in this was instead of drawing my level or having my level at the bodies of the candles, so at 235, I just wasn't paying attention. I had my chart really zoomed out and I just had my stop somewhere at the level. So I think I had it at 225. All right. And so it might be like, okay, or you might be like, all right, well, 225, 235, what's the difference? The levels are actually really important. It's very important that you have your levels marked properly. So you can see at 235, if I would have had it at the correct spot, you can see I actually wouldn't have gotten stopped out of this trade. So coming down to the 15-second, this is what I trade on. This is where I'm, really getting my entries. You can see once we broke down below 235, we retested that level perfectly. So usually when I have my stops at a certain level or based off of a certain level, I will have it a little above the level. So in this case, my stop would have been sitting somewhere above 235. I usually try to do like 5 points above. So it probably would have been around 240 or so. So I wouldn't have gotten stopped out because my stop would have been at the appropriate level. All right. And this is why the levels are important when you're talking about stop losses, entries, and targets, because I had my stop literally 10 points below, right around 225, but that's not the level that the market is caring about. It's not respecting that level. So there's no need for me to have random levels on the chart. If I'm not going to have the level at the exact perfect spot where it needs to be at, which is 235, right at those bodies, then there's no point in me having it. And so that is where I messed up today, just not paying enough attention to where I had my level specifically. So I ended up getting stopped out once price pulled back on this candle at 938 as it came up above 225 because I had my stop in the wrong spot. But again, you live and you learn. As long as you learn from your mistakes, then you're good. All right. So yeah, stop should have been above that level, and then we would have been able to continue moving down onto right around 155 where we had buyers sitting at. And you can see right down around that level. Obviously, the market's not perfect, but right down around that level, you can see we bounced and the market moved up a lot from there. Way on up, up, up. All right, so that was today's trade. That was my reasoning for entry. Pretty simple reason for entry. And then what I could have done better, you know, and what we can all do better next time. Okay. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments. If you want to join the live trading Discord, you can click the link below as well. And I will see you guys there. All right. So y'all have a great day and don't blow any accounts.